What up, cucks? It's your boy, the Hater, and it's time for an impromptu episode of Hater on the Road. More specifically, Hater stuck in traffic, cuckolds. Hater's got to go to a meeting, but he's stuck in traffic, so the meeting was pushed by the Hater. But I'm still in traffic. It'll probably be here for another 20-25 minutes. Apparently, there's an accident. Hopefully, everyone's okay, cucks. Now, I want to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about the reactions that people have had to Summerslam, right? Everyone's saying this was a great event. Now, while I understand that this was better than most pay-per-views, this was not a good pay-per-view, cucks. This was not by any means a good pay-per-view. This was overproduced garbage, just like WrestleMania 40. But let's go through the things that were actually good and the things that were actually bad. You can think of this as like an addendum to my SummerSlam review. First of all, let's get it out of the way. The Liv Morgan stuff was mid, right? It was good considering that, like, you know, it was just well acted, I suppose, right? Like Dominic doing it, there's going to be a payoff there no matter how he does it. But the execution was inferior. Like, compare the execution of this to the moment when, When Trish Stratus betrayed Chris Jericho and aligned herself with Christian, right? That was completely unexpected, right? Nobody saw that coming because Christian had been beating her ass for like 3 weeks, right? And Jericho had been trying to be nice to her. And also, she's a woman, so she's allowed to like slap Jericho in the face and kick him in the balls. So all of this combined led to an actual moment where it wasn't clear that there was a betrayal. And then during the match, it doesn't matter because Christian got the upset. And then afterwards, Christian and Trish Stratus started making out, right? It was very well done conceptually. This was just a very, very well done segment. Now, with all that being said, cuckwads, this segment with Liv and Rhea and Dominic didn't work out as well. Now, part of that is because one segment involved Trish, Jericho, and Christian, who are all of them individually are better than everyone in WWE right now, and let alone like the people that are involved in this feud. But this feud was also weird because Liv Morgan also was surprised, right? So it wasn't like this ruse, right? Dominic did make her cry. This wasn't like part of like the plan all along, or so they presented it, right? Another reason why this was like not as good, and in my opinion mid overall, is because Dominic, we knew this was going to happen. Like, I predicted this exactly how it's going to happen, right? I mean, I would have preferred if there was some actual interference in the match, like some, you know, overt interference, but I predicted this. I said, okay, this is probably what's going to happen, right? I predicted this weeks before Rhea Ripley came, right? And then this foreshadowed the implosion of Judgment Day, because once Dominic and Rhea are done, Judgment Day is over. What, you think people care about which side Carlito and, what's-his-face fall on? I mean, I'm sure Carlito is going to, like, you know, pull up his weight and he's going to align with Damien and Rhea in the, you know, Monday, right? I have a feeling he's going to be the one guy who, like, is, you know, becomes a face out of this. But anyways, with all that being said, the match wasn't that great. Now, I will say this. The match between Gunther and Damien Priest was fun because this was the first time, really, where Damien Priest wrestled as a face in, like, I think ever. I think he's been a heel, like, his entire run. You know what I mean? So, this is the first time he's wrestled as a face, and he makes a pretty compelling face. He's been a face for the last few weeks, but this time he actually wrestled like one. You know what I mean? He actually did, like, face things, like not give up and, you know, like, fight through, like, the impossible odds only to lose, etc. So, that part is good. I look forward to seeing what Damien Priest is going to do next. But beyond these two things, nothing else happened, right? Like, obviously, motherfucks, obviously Roman Reigns is going to come back. Now, okay, he came back in SummerSlam and nobody was sure whether it was going to be SummerSlam or not, even though I predicted this as well. But it doesn't matter if he comes back on SummerSlam or in Berlin or on SmackDown. None of this matters. It doesn't matter exactly when Roman Reigns decides to show up. He's still Roman Reigns. You know what I mean? So, he's going to come back. We knew he was going to come back at some point. The entire storyline leads up to him, you know, coming back. And honestly, once Owens and Orton were removed, you know, once they started fighting the other two jobbers, the two more jobberish characters from the new Bloodline, it was obvious that the big dog was going to come back. Or maybe some other person was going to make a debut. But somebody was going to come and help Kuki overcome Solo Sikoa and, what's his face? The Samoan werewolf, Jacob Fat 2. Jacob Fat Fuck. You know what I mean? So with all that being said, I don't know what everyone is clamoring about. You know, everything else was complete mediocrity. Like, everything else ranged from mediocrity to like complete garbage. Like the Austin Theory, Grayson Waller segment, it's just complete garbage. You know what I mean? The entire like jelly roll every 30 seconds is complete garbage. You know, there's a lot of bad things here, and people are getting excited because they're like, oh, there's all this storytelling, right? But hold on a second, motherfuckers. It's not difficult to do this kind of storytelling, right? It's not difficult to have a situation where nothing happens for weeks and months, and then something happens and people are like, oh shit, what a great pay-per-view, something happened. Yeah, something is supposed to happen every week, but it's been 3 months and nothing's happened. I made a video specifically on this, how nothing has happened since WrestleMania, right? Like, the video where I explained everything that happened since WrestleMania, everything of note, like the video took like, what, like 8 minutes? It took me 8 minutes to go over like what happened for the last 4 months or so. You know what I mean? So nothing's happened. And tomorrow night on Raw, we're gonna have like the debut of the Wyatt Six. So that's already dead in the water. They're not even good enough to have like a pay-per-view debut, right? Like, they're not good enough, motherfuckers, to make it under SummerSlam. Because at the end of the day, the match that we're gonna watch, it sounds like it's probably gonna be the Creeds and Chad Gable versus like the Buzzard, the Pig, and the Rabbit, right? Which are all jobbers. It's like everyone in this match is a jobber. Like literally everyone in this match is a jobber. So none of these guys really belong on pay-per-view. Maybe Chad Gable. The Creeds obviously deserve better, but they're not getting it. They're not gonna get the better thing. But anyways, I digress. If we're talking about SummerSlam itself, the reality, the fact of the matter is that the event was not great. You know, people are talking about it as if it's like this like huge payoff to this like great storytelling. And I get why they think that, but it's not. Because all the storytelling should have ended a month ago. You know, if this happened in last month's pay-per-view, then I'd be like, okay, got it. That's pretty good storytelling. But there's at least 1 or 2 episodes of Raw. I'm using that just as the measuring stick because the same applies to SmackDown. But for the last 2 weeks, basically, like, we've just been stalling. You know what I mean? Like, the obligatory, like, the Cody Rhodes, you know, pay-per-view structure is as follows. Cody Rhodes comes out. He says, I'm Cody Rhodes. I did it for my friends and family. Then someone attacks him and becomes the #1 contender, right? Then they have, like, 3 or 4, you know, promos. And they don't have any contact with each other. They just have 3 or 4 promos. Maybe Kuki takes, like, a Samoan spike, you know? And I don't know what this is all about, to be honest, but it doesn't make for compelling storytelling. Same thing with Gunther, same thing with everybody, right? It's like the people you see on Raw are not the people you see on pay-per-view, right? There's a few that overlap, like the mid-carders, like, you know, Braun Breaker, you'll see him on Raw, and you'll see him on, you know, pay-per-view. But that's about it, really. Like, it's like, on a random-ass episode of Raw, you'll see things like, you know, Finn Balor and JD McDonough. They're not making it to pay-per-view. Absolutely not, motherfucks. On SmackDown, you'll see like Humberto and fucking Angel Garza. They're not, and Santos. They're not making it to fucking pay-per-view. Are you kidding me? Absolutely not. You'll see like Carmelo and Andrade. They're not going to be on pay-per-view. Like, there's a clear difference between the wrestlers that perform on pay-per-view and the ones that perform for free, right? And there's no overlap at all. It's like nobody wants to do their fucking job. So, with all that being said, SummerSlam cannot be considered a good pay-per-view if all they do is pretty much segregate all the people that are too good for TV and just show them to you in SummerSlam, and then because you're starved for good programming, you're like, oh, this is actually great. No, motherfucks. Remember when like The Rock used to wrestle on every Raw and every SmackDown, and then he'd beat ass at the pay-per-view as well? You know, that was good programming. That was good storytelling. And you know, we don't have to go all the way back to The Rock. We can go back to like, you know, the Ruthless Aggression era. We go back to like the John Cena era. Like, John Cena would wrestle every Raw. You know what I mean? He would go out there and he'd be in like some sort of bullshit tag match. It'll be like John Cena and some like mid-card face versus John Cena's rival and some mid-card heel. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be like John Cena and Evan Bourne are teaming up to face like Randy Orton and Dolph Ziggler or something, right? And the people involved have a program with each other, and maybe they get their hands on each other, maybe they don't, but at least you see them wrestle. You know, the only reason people think this is good, there's two reasons. One, because we've seen nothing happen for 4 months. Like all the other PLEs have been complete shit. You know what I mean? It's like the other PLEs have been like 5 matches of boring nonsense. You know, it'll be like AJ Styles versus Cody Rhodes wrestling for no reason, you know, and like it's personal, you know, he tells it's personal. Then like the other reason is like the overproduction of the main events, which I do blame on the Roman Reigns era, right? It started with like Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. We're like in the middle of the match, like every match, people are having conversations, people are having like these moments that don't need to be had, etc., etc. In this one, it was the same thing as WrestleMania. I'm surprised The Undertaker didn't come out and chokeslam somebody, right? But like, it was the same exact thing. It was basically like Cookie Rhodes is overcoming the odds, but like, he's not believable like John Cena is, so he has to overcome them with the help of other people. And then like, Roman Reigns comes and helps him, right? Which really doesn't make any sense. One of you left a comment that said like, oh, so now that Solo Sikoa lost, he's justifiably not the tribal chief anymore, right? Because, and this person, the comment they left was very, very intelligent, because the entire premise of Solo Sikoa saying like, oh, you know, like, I'm the tribal chief now, Roman Reigns was weak, is because Roman Reigns lost to Cody Rhodes. Well, Solo Sikoa lost to Cody Rhodes. So maybe now it's time for Tama Tonga to be the tribal chief, right? By that same logic, Solo Sikoa has no reason and no logic and no argument in saying, I am still the tribal chief. No, you lost, bro. You lost. Why are you the tribal chief and not Roman Reigns? You know what I mean? So there you have it. That's just horrible booking, right? It doesn't make any sense. You know, and nobody's focusing on the things that don't make sense, right? The same guy, this guy, comeback guy, I forget your name, but like, you had some good points. Same guy, another point that he made. He's like, why wouldn't Finn Balor just screw Damien Priest tomorrow and start a feud for the title, right? Why would he screw him? In other words, why would Finn Balor betray him and make sure that he loses the title? Because obviously now, Damien Priest is going to want to get revenge on Finn Balor, right? From kayfabe and logic, Finn Balor knows this. Unless Finn Balor is retarded, he knows that, you know, if he wants to be the leader of Judgment Day or whatever, be like, you know, maybe he's jealous of Damien Priest, whatever bullshit they're going to explain, right? He knows that Damien Priest is going to want to get his hands on him, right? And then he could do the heel thing where the heels say like, you know, I'm not going to let you, I don't want to be in a match with you unless you put a title on the line, right? And he can goad him into that, right? So from the kayfabe perspective, Finn Balor just screwed up, right? He's undercutting a title shot for himself, right? And so you can have Gunther win. Maybe the explanation is he and Gunther are now buddies, you know, like maybe Gunther starts a European faction with JD McDonough and Finn Balor and, you know, whatever, right? If that's the case, then that makes sense. But if that's not the case, then go fuck yourself, right? The whole booking doesn't make any sense. Tiffany Stratton, she's the money in the bank, and she's like the underling, the lackey of Nia Jax, right? Like, why does she just cash in on Nia Jax? We know that's what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, that's the problem with wrestling. It's like we don't need to think about anything else. We all know what's gonna happen. Roman Reigns is gonna reunite with the Usos, and it's gonna be like Bloodline Civil War, right? That's gonna happen for sure. We already know Tiffany Stratton is eventually going to betray Nia Jax or vice versa. It doesn't matter who betrays who. We already knew that Finn Balor and Damien Priest were going to betray one another. Probably Finn Balor is going to betray him because it's been brewing for months now, right? We all knew that Dominic, like after he said like, I choose mommy, right? And te odio, Liv, right? Like after he said all that, I'm like, oh, great. Obviously he's going to choose Liv, right? All of this should have just been done organically at the pay-per-view, right? Where at the pay-per-view, we go into the match and Rhea Ripley doesn't know which way Dom is leaning and doesn't quite care. And Liv Morgan doesn't know, but does care. And then, you know, Dominic can betray one for the other. That would have made sense. But that's not what they did at all, cuckwads. So, with all that being said, you know, I don't like this narrative of this pay-per-view is somehow amazing. It was mid. It was literally mid. Every match was a singles match. There was nothing entertaining beyond, like, all of these matches belong on Raw. All of these, or SmackDown, right? Cookie Rhodes and Solo Sikoa is not a pay-per-view main event. Cookie Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa is a SmackDown match. You know what I mean? Like, here's how I know. We're never going to see this match on pay-per-view after this program is over. You know what I mean? That's it. Cooks.